Lustre has gone. Only sad moments left. Poor situation for Meghan and Harry. The reception Meghan Markle and her husband Harry have received from the bridge shows just how far they have fallen. With the royal family having been around now for such an incredibly long time, it is a pretty amazing day when we get to see a first when it comes to the royals now. The royal in question never actually even survived 2 years in her tenure as a working HR, and now she lives nearly 9,000 kilometers away from Buckingham Palace. And we could also say that she has done a lot more to disrupt the monarchy than even the Roundheads during the Civil War did. But here we find ourselves. So what has she done? Well, Miss Meghan has actually taken a train. Yes, I'm talking about a normal train, not a private train. There were other paying passengers on there, and there was no private compartment. In a surprising turn of events, Meghan took a train for the first time in 4 years since the Queen took her along with her for an overnight trip on her own train in 2018. So Meghan chose this unusually common form of transportation to get to Manchester for the first stop on her and Harry. Meghan went to Manchester to deliver the keynote speech at the One Young World Summit. That's an organization that she's been connected with since 2014, and that was her first speech back in the UK ever since their final round of official engagements they undertook back in 2020. One event down, and the great return tour of Meghan and Harry have gotten off to a less than stellar start. It was taken outside of Manchester's Bridgewater Hall where the summit was held, and that gives us all the proof that we need lots of support for Meghan and Harry as they left after her speech in One Young World ship posted. There are some people there, but I would say about a dozen at most, including a number of people cheering and yelling. "We love you, Meghan," and some members of the media were there too, but they certainly didn't require any barricades to control the crowds, and the group wasn't even really pressed together. And they also didn't look like they were trying that hard to even see. Meghan, we are certainly not talking about an outpouring of support here. Meanwhile, The Times has reported that in the hours before the event, a couple of royal fans were outside the venue, which could be the new working definition of underwhelming. And we can compare all of this with the scenes that greeted Harry and Meghan back in the times before. That was back before Meghan ever became a meme, and it was back before the game Guess the Royal Races started. Now of course, at the time we didn't know that. Nuclear bomb known as Meghan was about to go off only hours later. And then in that same year, they came back in March, and again there were large numbers of people out there waiting, and in the rain too, to see Meghan and Harry just briefly as they entered the Endeavour Awards. And then 2 days later you can see shots of them arriving at the Mountbatten Music Festival, and you can see there are barricaded crowds and a bunch of cameras too. But today the picture is quite different. Now, obviously Meghan and Harry do not enjoy a devoted fan base anymore, particularly among younger Brits who actually are more sympathetic to their plight. But what we're not seeing were all the excited hordes just happy to even briefly spot the formerly star couple. So if Meghan and Harry were hoping that people were going to be overwhelmed with excitement to see them, or even just a little bit excited to see them, then I would guess this first event has left them feeling pretty disappointed indeed. When Meghan, dressed up in a red Valentino shirt and trousers, went to the podium to deliver her keynote address, she started with her opening line of "Well, good evening everyone. It is very nice to be back in the UK," and the audience basically didn't react at all. Later on, she mentioned becoming a mother. In 2019, she finally got some cheers, but thanks to the wardrobe change and the look that Meghan had on her face the whole time, the engagement really just ended up looking ridiculous. One outfit that Meghan had consisted of a caramel $1,164 cashmere silk Brandon Maxwell polo shirt, and she wore that with $1,445 Altazara pants. She paired that little get-up with some Manolo Blahnik heels. They were beige suede, and they cost about $1,500, so she wore that to make the just under 3-hour trip from their Windsor home to Houston Station, and at some point she changed into her second overpriced look of the day. And one thing that is still bothering me, please tell me who was carrying her second outfit and where did she change clothes anyway, and why? My biggest question, I think, is why. It's just so bizarre to me that the only shots that we got to see of Meghan wearing the caramel outfit were some indistinct paparazzi shots when she was entering a station side door. And then for the speech bag and wore a $1,866 red Valentino blouse. And she wore that with some $2,000 trousers from the famed Italian house and another pair of heels. Her accessories for both looks were a pair of chunky gold earrings from Sophie Buhai. And just what was the cost of all of that? Well, If we assume that the second pair of shoes that she wore were along the same lines as her Manolo Blahniks, and if we consider the average cost of earrings by Buhai, then the figure approaches somewhere close to the $8,500 mark. And then, apparently, the surrounding area outside of Bridgewater Hall was supposed to be cleared a full 90 minutes before they got there to eject any authorized bystanders. And supposedly there was also a ring of steel put in place by private security. So the Manchester police have come out and confirmed that they were not involved in all of this. Instead, the whole thing was staged, managed to such an overproduced degree that, you know what? So I would say the world does need a loud, passionate woman who can bring the masses together, make politicians listen, and make the whole world pay attention. Something that would be achievable for a person with the kind of global fame that Meghan has due to her royal connections. Let's see, Meghan is not that voice, and that's because her activism is so superficial. It's like diet feminism. It contains a lot of buzzwords, but it mostly just seems to consist of speaking with her celebrity buddies and occasionally making a few phone calls to some people in Washington. And then there's a whole lot of posing and posturing and talking to Vogue. But there's very little of the real work that would be required for a sustained campaign that could affect some real change. Just take a look at any movement that has actually changed the society for the better, like civil rights movement, the suffragists, marriage equality. All of that required decades of concerted, committed hard work by people who weren't looking to be celebrated for their work and who did a lot more than give speeches and some overpriced outfits. And what about that $8,500 price tag? Well, that could have paid for 60 girls to attend school through World Vision. So at the end of the day, it's obvious that Meghan's feminism is just more performative than it is authentic. Big speeches and occasionally writing a check is not gonna cut it. To really work on behalf of equality for women and girls around the world, Meghan would need to put in some real work, some hard work. Tanya Gould recently wrote a piece for The Telegraph, and she called it, "Meghan can never be a genuine feminist," so she says the former actress and her plus one are taking up valuable space for serious political discourse by more serious people. And that is the worst of all worlds. And it is a shame, because I do think on some level Meghan does care about gender equality. But the problem is she just cares about herself way too much. Instead of wanting to affect change for the benefit of women and girls around the world, she just wants to be hailed as the new Gloria Steinem. But anyway, we've only seen one event and two outfits so far as a part of the Sussex Whirlwind Eurotrip, and their next appearance is going to happen on Tuesday. They're going to go to Dusseldorf to mark the one-year countdown to the next Invictus Games. Has their paymasters and Netflix may say. I guess we need to stay tuned. And you, what do you think about Meghan in the UK? Please tell me what you think below in the comments section, and we can also talk about her. Please remember to like and share it.